In this video, I will try to illustrate the process of logic by using examples drawn from ordinary food restaurants. Here I have French fries, chicken nuggets, a cheeseburger, some Chinese shrimps, whatever, and a pizza. And I will try to use illustrations to make logic intelligible. Okay, what is logic? Speculative logic. First, we have to answer the question: what is? What is? What does it mean to say what? What means a determination. When we say, what is this? It's a cheeseburger. We ask determinations. We want to qualify the thing, the object. What is this? So we begin logic with being, pure being. And being, I've made videos about being, nothing, becoming, so I will not go into detail here. I will go just the broad view. Being, pure being, is a self-determining process. Being consists in giving itself determinations, limitations, and eventually qualities, etc. And this process is called, if you want, the categorization of being. Being, pure being, is the pure category in Kantian and Hegelian philosophy, and the categories are the kind of boxes that we use to think about the world. For instance, this is a hamburger, this is a cheeseburger. These are categories. These are French fries, and these are potatoes. These are other categories. But here they are way too determined, way too sensuous, and we need to elevate ourselves into abstraction. So being is the self-determining process which consists in categorizing itself. And the question that one might ask is, where do the categories that we use come from? Quality, quantity, measure, identity, difference, substance, cause, etc. The metaphysical categories. Where do they come from? They come from the self-unfolding process of being. And I will illustrate. Being, pure being, is nothing. Because there is nothing to see, to watch, to grasp, to understand, to conceptualize within pure being. There is nothing. So being is not being, it is nothing. So it is the opposite of itself. If we say, what is nothing? Nothing is nothing. If we say nothing is nothing, we predicate being to nothing. So nothing is not nothing because it is nothing. But if we say nothing is not nothing, we say that nothing is the opposite of itself. So whatever we say, being and nothing are contradictory. And this contradiction at the root of being and nothing brings forth becoming, which is the unity of being and nothing. But becoming is not becoming because it is not. It is not itself because it is a unity of opposite determinations. And if we say it is itself, it is not itself because becoming is not, it becomes. So it produces a result. And this is what in German we call Dasein. It cannot be translated in English. It's just Dasein. It's being with negation. And to illustrate becoming, these French fries that I bought for the purpose of this video, I bought them a few hours ago. Now they are cold. Before they were hot, now they are cold. So they have become cold and flat. So there has been a change of temperature, of texture. Yeah. Like all the other food that I've bought. So that's an illustration of change. If I take this fries and I eat it, it's not very good because it's cold. So it has ceased to be. It has come into nothing. There was a French fry and now it's gone. And I'm not going to tell you where it will go, but yeah. And if I waited long enough, the process of decay and rotting would occur, and these French fries would become rotting food and would eventually decay. And yeah, so these are illustrations of becoming. So that's how the logical process begins. With Dasein, we have being with negation, but not like in becoming in a more stable way, but the non-being of Dasein is in German what we call Nichtsein. So Dasein and Nichtsein are different, but they are nonetheless one. And this entails a contradiction, because Dasein is Dasein, but at the same time it is Nichtsein, so it is itself and its opposite, so to speak. So it has to solve the contradiction, and that's what brings the movement further. And Hegel says in the Logic that philosophy, the purpose of philosophy, is to liberate oneself from many needs and finite existences, and to become indifferent to the being or non-being of the finite world. That's the purpose. And to illustrate in the realm of food, Hegel says that the highest moment of negation of nothing is freedom, because to be free, to liberate oneself, is to negate in a way. And to assert one's freedom, one could decide to starve oneself to death. People who go on strike and refuse to eat for a political cause, they assert their freedom by negating their need of food, and they are willing to die to assert their freedom because they believe in a cause. And at the other end of the spectrum, people who are oppressed by the economic conditions, they starve to death. So they oppression and freedom in terms of food both produce the same result, which is death. Yeah. And then a brief view of the question of food in the world. People wonder, but why God tolerates that people starve? If there is a God, why are there people who starve and who lack food all over the planet, mostly in Africa? That's a complicated answer to give, but people blame starvation on capitalism. Capitalism, which officially began 2 centuries ago, or 2 centuries and 250 years ago, since capitalism has been implemented first in England and then in Europe and in America and the rest of the world, eventually the human population has been multiplied by 7, broadly, from 1 billion to 7 billion in 2 centuries. So capitalism brings life and wealth, because the economic conditions, there is a lot of inequality, but the average per capita standards of living has grown tremendously. And communism brings death and poverty. So, depending on your perspective on the question of life, you might favor capitalism or communism. But yeah. And another answer is that God tried to induce guilt in the white race for having introduced capitalism in Africa and all over the world. And this is the reason why so many whites today feel guilty and send tremendous amount of money in humanitarian aid to try to help the starving populations. And they receive images constantly to remind them that there are people starving. So white leftists all over the world, they feel guilty for being responsible. They think that they are responsible for the people starving in Africa or Asia or whatever. And yeah. Now we continue the logical process. The difference between Dasein and Nichtsein is, in German, what is called Bestimmtheit, determinacy. So determinacy is one with Dasein, but at the same time it is different. It is what qualifies being. Quality is determinate or determined being, Bestimmten, the Bestimmtheit. So we have quality emerging from being. And here we stumble upon the category of reality, which is determinacy, namely being or Dasein, with its negation. So what is real is what contains within itself being and negation. And I will illustrate. Hegel says that if we take the being of reality, what reality is in itself, the moment of being, this is what in German is called an-sich. In the philosophy of Hegel, this is an-sich, in itself. And the moment of negation is sein-für-anders, which is being for other. And I will illustrate. Here we have a picture of a hamburger. People will acknowledge that this is not a real hamburger. It's just the image of a hamburger. But if you try to eat this, it's just plastic. So it's not real because it is only an-sich, but it's not sein-für-anders. It has no being for other. And another illustration, this would be considered a real hamburger, although it's a cheeseburger, but let's not, yeah. So it's real because it is in itself and it has an external presence, so to speak. It is, we have already here at the very beginning of logic the view of Hegel that in order for something to be real or true, it has to be adequate to its own concept. And to illustrate, if I do not have one, but if I had a vegan burger, namely a hamburger without meat, but with vegetable, steak, whatever you call this in English, so a hamburger without meat, that would be sein-für-anders, namely there would be the external presence of a hamburger, but not the an-sich, not the in itself. And that's why for people who love eating hamburgers, they would say a vegan burger with just organic food and no meat within, it's not a real burger. So in everyday vocabulary we use unconsciously logical categories. People acknowledge that that's a real burger, that's not a real burger, that's the picture of a burger, etc., etc. So that's just to illustrate that the logical categories are present in our everyday consciousness, although in an unconscious fashion. So I go briefly, but this reality brings forth something, that something is real because it is itself with the negation of itself, which is something else. Something is limited by something else. We have Bestimmtheit, quality, limit, something, something else, reality, negation, etc. This appears from the unfolding of the process of logic. And Hegel says that the limit, that which differentiates something from something else, is a moment of something. So something is one with its limit, but at the same time it ceases to be with its limit. So there is a contradiction, and that's the reason why something is finite. This French phrase has a limit. It is something, it is finite, and because it is in relation with something else, namely here the external conditions, it can change, it can vary. If I separate in two, it has changed. It is finite, it is not unchangeable, it is not infinite. So this French phrase is not God, because God is the infinite, and this is just finite. It can be negated. God cannot be negated. It can be contradicted, but not negated. And then the logical process is that if something is not just something, that's the view of what Hegel calls der Verstand, something is something, it is not something else. But that's wrong, says Hegel, because something is one with its limit, which is the distinction, the determinacy between something and something else. So something else is the moment of something, so they are one, because something and something else, if we are trying to determine what differentiates them, there is nothing which differentiates them. They are one and the same, and that's why something is something else and finds its own infinity in something else. That's quite complex, but yeah. And this is what Hegel calls Für-sich-sein, being for self, because something is for itself in the sense that it is itself and something else at the same time. So it doesn't cease to be what it is in its not self, which is something else. It is infinite. And this is what Hegel illustrates as idealism. Idealism, the empirical view is that this fry is real. It is real, but I can negate it. I can eat the fry and it ceases to be. This is idealism. I have negated the object, so to speak, because it is not absolutely real. It is an idea, in a sense. And this is the basic definition of idealism, namely that the external world is not absolute. It can be negated. And that's why idealists, in the sense not of philosophy, but in the sense of politics, the meaning is not the same, but the idealists are kind of dangerous because they believe in ideas, and they believe that in order to implement their ideas, they can negate the current political order. So, yeah, that's the political derivation from the philosophical concept of idealism. So now we are in the realm of Für-sich-sein. So it is relation to self. Something is something else, so it is in relation to itself, because something else is something. There is no determination which differentiates them, except that they have a limit, but the limit is being transcended by this infinite relation to self, and a relation to self which is itself and exclude the other. It is just itself. This is what we call one. It is one. Something and something else are one. So that's how the concept of unity emerges from the logical development. This is one potato. This is one hamburger. It's a concept that we use in everyday in everyday thought. This is the origin of unity. And when we say I will develop later, but this French fry is one, but it has many parts. It has a size, a weight, etc. But it is nonetheless one because it is only in relation to itself. But Hegel says the one, because it is Für-sich-sein, relation of being to itself, it contains the moment of the negation. And that's why the one, from a philosophical standpoint, negates itself and creates, so to speak, that's not a proper word, but logically brings forth the other of itself and the other of the one. Because the one is itself, the other of itself can only be itself, but when we have a one which become not one, we have a word, we call this the many. That's a very complex process in Plato's philosophy. How does the one become the many? That's what the Neoplatonists in early or late antiquity, early Middle Ages era, they thought and wrote many pages about how does the one become the many. Hegel explains. The one becomes the many because it contains negation within itself. That's what drives the process forward. And here I have two French fries. They are one in the sense that both are fries, but they are many. Strictly speaking, they are different because of determinations like quantity, size, color, etc. But if we had two atoms or two particles, they are one but many. They are identical but many. And in the realm of food, here I have nuggets. Here's one nugget, one other. They are one, but they are many. And there are here many nuggets. Actually, there are 6. If you're interested, I've paid 80 euros, which broadly $80, for the sake of this experiment. So one day in the future, I would say, happy were the days when a philosophical lecture only cost me $80, because in the future it will cost me more, but that's why I'm trying to get rid of finite things. I'm learning to detach myself. That's the purpose of philosophy. So the one, Hegel says, exclude itself from itself. And the many exclude one another from one, although they are all the same in the sense that each of the many is one, but they exclude one another. to illustrate, that's why there are so much conflicts in politics, because it's difficult to make many people live together in a one geographical area. That's just an illustration. But they exclude one another, the many, which are moments of the one, but they are in relation with one another. So that's the logical origin of attraction and repulsion. And to illustrate with food, there is attractive food. People in the West enjoy eating hamburgers or Chinese food or pizzas. They find this attractive, and some find certain kinds of food repulsive. That's a gastronomic determination, but it comes from a logical determination. And there are different cultural relationship to food, and yeah. Yeah. So Hegel says that the one, the unity, with the moments of attraction and repulsion, is the moment when qualitative being, namely when quality has completed itself. And what is quality? This is the totality of all the determinations that I have listed. I will not list them again, but determinacy is something, etc. This is, to qualify something is to use the determinations that I have just mentioned. So the one in the vocabulary of Hegel is the Aufhebung of determinacy, the negation by completing the process of determination. And quality is one with being. A being is what it is because of its quality. This potato is not a French fry because they are qualitatively different. But the determinacy is that which gives the quality. And Hegel says that now the determinacy has to be negated and become indifferent to being. So now determinacy can change without being losing its quality. And this change of being, which does not affect the qualitative aspect of being, is what we call quantity. That's the origin of the concept of quantity. And quantity is indifferent to being. We can change the quantity of something without changing its quality. I will illustrate, and then logically, this pizza, it measures, 30 centimeters. If it measured 35 centimeters or 40 centimeters, it would be a larger pizza. The quantity would have increased, but the quality, namely a pizza, would have remained the same. Yeah. This is a small, I don't know how to call this thing, a small pack of French fries. It could have been larger. I chose the cheapest because, yeah, but it could have been larger. There were different sizes. This is an illustration of quantity, but I will go into more detail. Quantity, Hegel says, is defined by mathematicians, who are supposed to be experts in quantity, as that which can be increased or decreased. You can make a larger burger with 2 or 3 steaks, or you can have, this is Chinese rice. You can increase the quantity, 500 grams. I don't know what you call this in America or English, 500 grams or 300 or 100 or 1 kilo or whatever. You can change the quantity. And about pizzas, you can make very large pizzas and very small pizzas. It exists in frozen supermarkets in the developed world. You can buy mini pizzas. But the question here is, what is the smallest imaginable pizza? How much can you reduce the quantity of a pizza until it stops to be a pizza? Can you find a molecule of pizza? The answer is no. Can you find an atom of a pizza? No. But the physicists ask themselves this question, notably about the question of gold. How tiny is the smallest quantity, which is a quality, of gold? And the answer is the atomic number of the atom that we call gold. And when we have this atom, we have gold, and if we separate the electrons, we have another qualitative atom. So you cannot find an atom of pizza. You can find atoms within a pizza, but an atomic pizza or a molecular pizza does not exist. So yeah, and the logical process, each subsequent category defines itself as containing all the previous ones. So the modes of quantity are continuity and discretion, and continuity is the moment of unity, the one, which is a moment of quality, and discretion is the moment of the many, which is the unity in plurality, which comes from the transition between quality and quantity. And to illustrate, this pizza is continuous, but it can be separated into discrete units. Here's a discrete unit of pizza. The continuity has been broken, but continuity and discretion are two moments of the same unit. That's why the pizza is continuous, but it can be discretely separated. That's just an illustration. Then we have the concept of a quantum, which is to quantity what Dasein is to being, namely quantum, what we inappropriately might call quantity or number. A quantum is quantity with a limit, and this is precisely a number. That's how the concept, that's where the concept of number comes from. It comes from the process of logic. People learn to count when they are very young, and everyone uses numbers in everyday life, but where does the concept of a number comes from? From the logical process. And here we have many fries. I will not count how much there are, but we can count the individual fries. So we have individual is unity, it is something. Now there is a certain number, a quantitative number. It is a continuity in the sense that this is fries alone. This is not fries. Here I can mix fries and potatoes. That would be qualitatively different. But here's the continuity is one, but it is broken into several discrete units. So the categories are here. And it has cost me a certain quantum of money, and I've bought cheap hamburgers. I guess they are good, but I did not spend a $20 burger or $50 burgers. But if you change the price, which is a numerical, a quantitative determination, you change the quality in the sense of it's better. But here, quality doesn't mean good. Here, quality means to qualify. A bad hamburger is still a hamburger. So yeah. And then Hegel, in his logic, he produces through the self-unfolding process of logic the various mathematical calculation, addition, multiplication, and potency to multiply a number by itself, and we can add. So that's the origin of mathematics. Hegel founded mathematics by deriving mathematical operations from logic itself. Here I take 2 packs of fries. I can add fries to more fries. That's an addition. Here I have 6 nuggets. I draw 2 out of them. I have subtraction. I have drawn off. Can we multiply hamburgers and fries? It says that Jesus could multiply bread, but capitalism can multiply fries to a certain excessive amount, but this is a mode of production which enables the multiplication of fast food restaurants and wealth with inequalities, but yeah. And then the question of division. You can multiply, but you can also divide. If there are 2 people who are hungry and there's only 1 hamburger, they will be divided and there will be a conflict. And either only one survives and gets the hamburger, or they can think, let us share. We will take the hamburger and share into 2 parts, and each one of us take a part. We will have less food for each of us, but we will have a sense of self-worth and friendship, maybe. And what I'm trying to do with my video is to share knowledge. Because knowledge, contrary to food, the more you share knowledge, the more there is knowledge. You can share knowledge, it increases, it does not decrease. When you share food, you have to negate a part of yourself. And that's the beginning of morality. Morality, in the realm of politics, means to negate yourself for the sake of the other. Yeah, that's the whole difficulty of social interactions. And then I wrote about self-negation. The Buddhists, those who are really hardcore Buddhists who believe in nothing, there is nothing, there is no food, nothing. You have to extinguish all your desires. I wrote, thank God that God is not a Buddhist, otherwise we would all starve to death. But God cannot be a Buddhist because a Buddhist is nothing, and if we say it is nothing, it's contradictory. So God is not nothing, because nothing is not itself. That's the beginning of the process. That's what brings forth the logical dialectics. So God cannot be a Buddhist. You can only aim towards Buddhism, but yeah. And then in the determination, the concept of quantum, we have, still because we have continuity and discretion, but now in the realm of limited quantity, namely quantum, we have extension, which is the moments of the many within quantum, and in intensity, which is the moment of unity, which is quantum within itself, which in this version of Hegel's logic is the degree, a degree or a grade, if you will. And to illustrate, a good recipe, the hamburger is very famous. The one who invented this was probably very smart. So it's a good idea. It is an intensely smart idea, and it has become widespread all over the world, or in most countries. People can eat hamburgers. Of course, it's because of American imperialism, but it's also because it is successful. It's something that human beings enjoy. So the intensity is translated into widespread extension. And Chinese restaurants, wherever there are Chinese minorities outside of China, have a success because Chinese food is appreciated by those who can have the means to afford. And a good cook, it is a cook with a high intensity of talent or quality, in the sense of he's talented, he's creative, he has a degree in cooking, maybe, a degree in that's a play on words. It's not a degree like a graduate from a school of cooking, but maybe he does. But a good cook will have an extended reputation. A good cook working in a restaurant, if he is intense in his talent, the reputation of the restaurant will grow and extend by being more famous and having more customers. So the two are united. They are two moments of the same concept. So, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, and then I wrote the grade or the degree, the intensive quality, the intensive quantity, the quality in the sense not of abstract determination, but quality in the sense of good or bad, in the sense of a judgment. Here we are not in the realm of judgment yet, but the quality of a cook is measured. We are not yet in the realm of measure, but by the talent, the complexity of the tasks that he can achieve, the speed at which he can cook his meals, the experience, which is a quantitative determination, the creativity, the ability to invent new recipes, etc., etc. So the quality, in the sense of a good cook, is a quantitative measure also. It's a degree, a grade of measure. But Hegel says, because degree is, and quantum is the indeterminacy, the indifference to the movement of determination, it is always outside of itself. It's always going outside of itself because it is indifferent to change. But because this process of going outside of itself is what qualifies quantity in a moment of quantum, by being qualified, quantity returns back to the first moment, which is quality, and this unity of a qualitative quantity is what we call measure. That's very smart. Here I'm very serious. That's Hegelian genius. Quality turns into quantity, and quantity is qualitative through the degree, and it comes back into the first moment of quality, but it has been mediated. Here we're not in the realm of mediation. It has negated the negative in the realm of logic, and it has come back to the first moment of quality because measure is qualitative, but with the determination of quantity. And measure is the unity of quality and quantity. And this is the fulfillment, the completion of being. What is being? Being is measure, namely quality, quantity, and measure. And to illustrate the realm of measure, when a restaurant produces a hamburger, it has to choose the right measure, in the sense that if you have a hamburger with 5 steaks within, I know that it exists in America, but you will not have a lot of success because that's too much. You have 1 or 2, but you have to find a proper measure. And I know that in America, the size of the portion is much larger than in other McDonald's or whatever. And another example, these are fast food restaurant, and fast means that when you go to a fast food, you expect the order, the food to be delivered rapidly. You do not want to wait too much. You have just a certain measure of time. When you go into a high standing restaurant, you are willing to wait 30 minutes, 40 minutes. You are willing to spend more time because you want to go there with friends to talk, whatever, or with your wife or whatever. So you are willing to spend a greater amount of measure. So yeah. And other example of measure, the reputation of a restaurant, the size of a hamburger, I've just said the size of a pizza. These are quantitative determinations of quality. The reputation of a restaurant is qualitative in the sense that reputation is quality, but it can change quantitatively, and if we change up to a certain extent, it will gain fame and reputation, and it can become even a chain of restaurants like McDonald's and etc. Or if the reputation is really bad, it can go bankrupt. And with the idea of measure, we have the negation of measure, which is lack of measure or excess, the trespassing of measure. And here in the realm of food, if you lack food, you will starve to death. And if you eat too much, you can also die of heart problems or excess of food. So both excesses bring death. And in the realm of culture, those who eat too much food, they become fat, and this qualitative, which is also quantitative, physiological determination in the realm of sociology brings shame and mockery. People are mocked or shamed if they are too fat. But this is Hegelian dialectics. It brings about the negation in a sense that be proud of your body, stop body shaming, do not be ashamed of who you are. I will put a link to a song, The Way I Are. And he says basically your body is not Pamela Anderson, but I love you nonetheless. So yeah, that's just an illustration. And also, still in the realm of culture, the will, especially of young girls or young women, to imitate their favorite pop star or their favorite actress or whatever can bring anorexia, namely the will to become too thin and to trespass the measure in the negative sense out of cultural reasons. There is largely enough food in these countries, but they feel a psychological problem which brings about health problems. It's not healthy to be too thin. So that's just an illustration. an illustration of the notion of measure related with food in the realm of economic history. In ancient times, only the rich were big and fat because they had the luxury of eating a lot. And in European history, women were depicted, women of the aristocracy was depicted as being not round, but they had round shapes. It was good. It was a sign of health for a woman to have fat, not too much, but to have a decent amount of fat, because it proved that she lived in the high society with good economic conditions, and etc. And in today's world, in highly developed capitalist societies, these are not the rich who are fat, who trespass the measure of well-being in the realm of physiology. These are the poor. The poors in America and in England and in Western countries are victim of the cultural, economic, and political aspects, in the sense that they suffer from health problems because it is in the poor working class families that there are the more obese persons. So obesity is a disease of the poor, not of the rich. That's a dialectical switch, I guess. So I summarize the realm of being. We had quality, which went into quantity, which went into measure, and this trinity, quality, quantity, measure, is the dialectical unfolding of the process of self-determination of being, and being is fully determined now. And Hegel says that being, which driven by its inner negativity, mediates itself with itself through the negation of itself, namely comes into relation a relation with itself through the negation, is the passage into the realm of essence. Essence is self-mediation. And do I have the... I will stop there. This was just the logic of being. I will continue. I will make a second video. I end with a Hegelian perspective. I bought this. These are burger breads. What would be the perfect Hegelian hamburger? It would be this. And why? Because there is nothing in it. So, because there is nothing, if you have followed the logical process, you can put anything in it. So, you can make the best burger in the world. So, that's a conceptual burger. That's a Hegelian burger, because there is nothing. There's nothing in it. And Hegel is the philosophy of nothing, basically. So, yeah, there's a lot of potential in nothing, as modern physicists know that the virtualities of the nothing brought forth the universe. That's the official story. So, yeah, that would be a Hegelian burger. And if a restaurant decided, we're going to sell conceptual burgers, that's brand new, it comes from from the science of logic, we will sell this for $50 or $100. And people would say, but you're a swindler, you're a crook, there's nothing in your burger. And then people would start a very deep philosophical conversation. But yeah, but nothing is full of potential things. Maybe God came out of nothing, the world came out of nothing, Hegel came out of nothing. Who knows what might come out of nothing? There are unpleasant things in nothing, but also maybe life came out of nothing. And yeah, this video certainly came out of nothing. And yeah, that's what I wanted to share. I will continue in the next video.